Hi, I'm Justin Whitty. I'm the director of the Cleve Carney Art Gallery, and this show is Mirror Face. Mirror Face presents the work of three artists who are working in an autobiographical manner. Sarah McEneaney, Christa Donner, and Keiler Roberts are all creating work that documents their everyday lives, their thoughts, in a very honest and accessible way. This interested me because it was a way of presenting self or self-portraiture that runs counter to how we've grown accustomed to presenting ourselves at this current point in time, when we are so obsessed with our online presence, our social media presence, when we're consumed with presenting an ideal versus an actual portrait of ourselves. I was interested in including Christa Donner's work in the show because she presents an autobiographical body of work in a slightly different manner. She's never the subject of her pieces necessarily, but they are, dealing with very personal health, family issues, and also very directly with her ongoing concerns and thoughts about social interaction and society as a whole.
I'm Christa Donner, and I'm an artist from Chicago. I work in a range of media. I do a lot with cut paper and ink and pigments on various surfaces. Everything that I've made comes from some sort of personal experience, and my drawing and cutting paper and making installations is my way of kind of dealing with those things, thinking them through, and creating often sort of fictional or fantastical solutions to my problems or to the problems that I see happening in the world. When I started thinking more directly about autobiography, I thought I would adapt that to focus very specifically on my own consumption, because one thing that I've been thinking about a lot and kind of worrying about a lot lately is the idea of consumption, the environment, my family's impact on the environment, like what little or how much any one person can do or any one family can do. The name of the piece is an autobiography for archaeologists or earthworms. And here I'm thinking about what is going to be left of me when my remains are like sort of the sediment of history. I consume a lot of plastic, so there will be a lot of that in there. One of my preferred media is to work in ink and sort of loose kinds of acrylic water-based paints. It allows me to improvise all the time. I can work very quickly. It dries very quickly, like in the span of a few minutes. And my mode of working, especially when I'm working on paper, is I lay out the drawing, and then it dries, and then immediately I think that something about it is terrible. And so I set it aside. Maybe I cut part of it off. I set it aside, and then I start working on something else. And in the meantime, all of these bits and pieces are kind of collecting around me. And I start to notice, oh, this little piece over here, actually I could pull this into to this drawing, and that would do something. And this over here that I cut off, I'll get rid of that, but I can pull in something else. And that happens, even the drawing behind me has been presented without anything on it, and I got here and I had these little pieces, and I said, I could put these little diggers in there, right? I really like the modularity of it. I like the flexibility of it. I can change a piece into, a million different works just by moving things around, and I really like that flexibility that I don't feel like I would have if I was working on something more set, like a canvas or something. I was really interested in working on the windows here. When we look at the wall, we usually see, there's the wall apart from me, and here's me, and I'm looking at it. But when you're looking at images on a window, our human eyes can actually combine the flat plane of the window and the images on the window with what's going on outside, whether that's the landscape, the environment, the built environment that we humans have created, other humans, and then, of course, other humans on the outside are looking in, and we ourselves become part of that image as well. So in thinking about my own role and our collective human role in what we contribute to the future generations, it was really important for me to think about how to sort of implicate all of us in the viewing and the participating in that image.
What's amazing about Keiler's work is that she's able to present some really tough issues in a very accessible way through the use of humor.
I'm Keiler Roberts, and I'm part of the Mirror Face show. As part of this exhibition, my original pages are on display, and I've created a large wall painting that's one panel blown up. Everything's sort of out in the open all at once, which is very different from a book format, but hopefully there's still sort of a way for people to like sit down and read and take the time to kind of project themselves into my world. My comics are autobiographical. I've always written about myself and my life, partly because it's the thing I know the most about. I know the truth, but it's also what I'm really drawn to when I meet other people. I want to know what people's worldview is and how it shapes their behaviors, and I want to get inside people's minds. And I can't do that, but I can write about my point of view and let other people in, and I read books that let me into other people's lives. And one of the things I address in my work is, having mental illness, having bipolar disorder, and it's a bummer to talk about health problems, People don't want to talk about it because it brings the conversation down. But I think also people are uncomfortable when topics like that come up because they feel like there's this formality and they suddenly have to act sensitive. And I want to talk about these things like just in a normal conversation. What did you have for lunch? I was really depressed this morning. It's like both things are really ordinary, and I want to mix it all up and just like have this flow from like the darkest parts to the funniest parts. It's all a mixture.
Sarah McEneaney is a painter from Philadelphia who does incredible large-scale egg tempera and acrylic paintings that really depict her daily life in her studio. The amazing thing about her work is the level of detail, and through that detail, you get a real sense for the world in which Sarah inhabits. So even though you're looking at pictures of the spaces she occupies, you feel like you're actually in them. I was interested in having Sarah's work in the show because I've known her work for quite some time, and I was always amazed at how, through her painting, she always was very generous with presenting her own life, whether it was the mundane day-to-day or serious trials in her life. She treated them all equally, and they're presented on the canvases, on the linen, on the board. Thinking about this exhibition, she seemed like a perfect fit.
All my work is autobiographical, basically telling the story of a life through painting my surroundings, my immediate surroundings. While it's the same space, the same studio space, it ends up being a story about a particular place and time and what's going on or had recently gone on in my life at that time. I think of the work as autobiographical, and the subject matter runs from the totally mundane to the horrific. So it might look like I'm just relaxing in a hammock, having a good time, and that's true, but I'm also talking about a friend who's died, as well as I made paintings about being sexually assaulted in my home. I made paintings about going through breast cancer. I've made paintings about the death of my parents when I was very young. So I feel like everything is part of the work. The good, the bad, the mundane, the horrific. While they seem like memoir, they are not like truly memoir. I call them creative nonfiction because what I choose to tell is, heavily edited, it's embellished, it's fantasized. Things are really selected. All those decisions are just as important as the decisions of line, color, composition, of like what I choose to put in and what I choose to leave.